What's up, y'all? Today on Bucket Talk, we'll be discussing everything about the Dallas Cowboys, including mock drafts, what they should do in the offseason, free agency, and predictions for the upcoming season. So, Ahan, man, I wanted to get your little input on how underwhelming Dallas Cowboys season was.
To be honest, I think we're always going to be bad, and then we end up doing, decently well, 10-7 or 11-6. But this year, I just knew we were going to be bad. Because I feel like without a run game, last year we had at least Pollard. He was a bit underwhelming, but he was still something. We had some sort of run game. I feel like without a run game, Dak Prescott can't do anything. What do you think?
Yeah, so I remember we've talked about this in the last NFL episode. Saying I have, but I'm saying we didn't pick up one running back from free agency, and there was at least 5-6 guys. We could have went out and got Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, at least 3-4 guys that are super elite. And we get out and sign Zeke, who's washed, old, and just slow. And I don't know, I completely agree. Without a run game, you're just a useless team. And I remember we dominated the Browns week 1, right? Everyone's saying, oh, the Cowboys defense, this, that. No. They look so amazing. And I predicted they would get smacked by the Saints, and they completely did. And Kamara fried us that game. So this is always how the Cowboys will be. They get false alarms, they get overhyped, and then they just get smacked because the players also just get ahead of themselves.
No, and talk about a fall off for the defense. What happened from this year to last year? I know Dan Quinn left, but that doesn't give every player an excuse to not just play their ass off. For me, what's it called? For me, in Dallas Mavericks, everyone is left. Everyone's spirits in denial. Everyone's in denial right now. Max Christie is playing his heart out. Why can't someone on the defensive line do something besides Osa Odigizua? Why is he performing so much better than everyone else? Why is Micah Parsons starting to not care? Why is he becoming so cocky whenever our team is 6-11? That's just not how it should be.
And so, at the same time, though, I can understand where Micah Parsons is coming from, right? He is one of the best defensive ends in football, and he's, on a team who's just so mediocre, below mediocre, in my opinion. And so, obviously that's not, ideal for a player just to give up, which I don't think he's giving up, but I can completely understand where he's coming from because he's such an amazing player, and then his team is just not giving him anything.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's just a whole, culture problem, I guess. Because I feel nobody really cared that much. Speaking of Micah Parsons, I think it is vital to extend him this offseason. Because with what I said, I acknowledge he's still a top 2, top 3 pass rusher in the NFL right now. And he should be paid like one. Knowing the Jones family, I don't know when that's going to happen, and it's going to cost the Cowboys probably $10 to $15 million in salary when it happens. So I just think they need to get this done as soon as possible before someone else resets the market and we have to pay the price.
Yeah. I don't know. Jerry Jones, you know how he's very slow and likes to be patient. It's not even a good patience. It's just he just tries to bullshit. Yeah. But, and this is the problem, right? We don't have enough money because we're paying Dak the same amount of money, or no, more money than players like Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, Burrow, when he's not even close to those caliber of players.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
You could, this offseason, you could restructure Dak to free up $40 million of cap. So I feel they're going to have to restructure a lot of people. And a couple cuts, to be honest. For some people I love, probably Terrence Steele. I don't like him, but he's probably gone.
Yeah.
Donovan Wilson, I love him. He might be gone.
Yeah.
CD's going to get restructured, probably. Dak is going to get restructured. Trayvon Diggs may get restructured.
Yeah.
And it's all these moves would open up so much cap. And even if you extend Micah Parsons, that would open up $16 million. His cap hit right now is so high. So what you should do is just get it over with. Swallow your pride. Get the deal done. Because right now, all of these moves are giving us more money. You just need to get it over with and do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I think.
And and my prediction for next year is it's just going to be super weird. I don't know how we're going to do. Because like knowing Jerry Jones, right? I think until Jerry Jones dies, I'm sorry, I'm just throwing that out there. I don't think we'll ever be a good franchise because there's not one team where their owner and they have a GM who's the same guy, and that fucks us up so bad. Because honestly, I think Jerry Jones would be a great owner.
Yeah,
I think he'd be a great owner.
Yeah.
But the fact that he has to be a GM too screws everything up. This is why we can't get a good coach, and this is why, we're drafting terribly, and we're paying players so much that they shouldn't. Keep in mind, I love Dak. I've defended him for so long, but it gets to a point where, and it's not just him, right? There's a lot of problems out there, but I also don't think he's just not the guy for the job.
I also think like if you're gonna extend Dak, fine. Why are you going to wait till someone else like Trevor Lawrence resets the market and then extend them? I guess extend them early. Because like this has happened numerous amounts of times. Like CD and Dak, it happened to both of them. Like it's just time to learn your lesson and pay Parsons now. That's what I think.
And that's the thing with Jerry. Like his ego is so high and he wants everything his way, right? This is like he interferes with everything and he just wants attention. I think that's just what he's there for, and this is why he just makes. I don't know. I'm not a fan of Jerry at all, and I think this is why like we don't rebuild. Like we've been rebuilding for the past 25 fucking years.
Yeah.
Right. Like I mean, we haven't made the Super Bowl since the Jimmy Johnson days, and he left because of Jerry.
No, and we have the longest NFC championship drought now, with the Commanders making the championship.
Exactly. The Texans have more playoffs wins than we do. Like, we're awful.
Yeah.
And this is why, like, I'm saying, like, the Eagles, I mean, we've talked about this in the last episode. They had an underwhelming season last year, right? What do? Go out and get Saquon Barkley, becomes the best running back in the league. Go out and draft incredible for their defense. It helps them immensely. They also add in coordinators that makes their offense even more explosive. Add in the coordinator for their defensive side of the ball, and that makes their defense lights out, shutdown, which just completely made Mahomes look terrible. Yeah. That's why the Eagles will always be better than us. I hate the Eagles.
Yeah.
I pray for their downfall, but they're just going to be better than us because they do what's needed for the team. For example, I think the 49ers this offseason, they had an underwhelming season, and a lot of that is because of injuries, but they will go out and do what's needed for the team, and they will be a good team again.
Yeah.
And we will just be stuck with what we've been doing, which has not been working, and we'll be a mediocre team or bad team.
And then we're going to make, like, some small trade that everyone overreacts to. Like, why? Like, we could have...
Eric Kendricks.
Yeah, Jonathan Mingo for a third-round pick. Like, what? That's absurd. We could have gotten someone that's way better for a third-round pick, It's like, I don't know. Yeah. I feel like our season's success will really depend on what we do in free agency and what we do in the draft, especially in the draft.
Yeah, so speaking of the draft, like I want to, get your inputs on who do you think we should pick up and what do you think we need the most?
So I'm a big fan of Ashton Genty. I've always been a big fan of Ashton Genty. So I'm just praying he falls to the Cowboys. Because if there's one thing the Cowboys are doing good, it's picking running backs early, which is something you're never supposed to do. And we picked Zeke with the 4th pick, and it worked out. So I think if we pick Genty with the 12th pick, it'll work out. So, I just think we need a playmaker. So if Genty's gone, we need someone who can make a play who's not CeeDee Lamb or Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I agree. Genty's he's a stud. He's a phenomenal player. If he does get picked up, I don't know if you've heard of him, but this guy from UNC, Amarion Hampton.
Yeah.
He's really good, and I think he might be a little bit smaller, but his ball carrier vision is amazing, and he can quickly burst through holes. I think he'd be a great player to have. I obviously love Genty, but that's the best possible case. And also, I feel like in the draft, I think we need to upgrade our defensive side of the ball, and I feel like we should maybe go out and get a corner safety because our secondary has been, we've had a lot of injuries, but it's been lacking this year.
Our D-line is probably the worst in the NFL as well. And I think it's going to get even worse when we lose Osa Odigizua because we're not going to want to pay him. So it gets to a point like you have to rebuild through the draft, but there's so many areas to fill that we need to go through free agency too, and I don't think that's going to happen. So I think what's going to end up happening, we're not going to get Genty, and we're going to spend that first-round pick on a defensive player, which is fine. That's a fine move. But I think later on in the draft we're gonna get a running back because I think like maybe like a Travion Henderson would be good, and Omarion Hampton is the guy I really want.
Yeah.
Even though Gentoo would be like the person that like would make me want to watch again. Like I don't know if that's the smartest pick that you can make.
I also really love Caleb Johnson from Iowa, but I think he'll also fall pretty early. He's super talented. But there's a lot of, talented running backs out there. Like Scatabo could be a crazy. Although I don't think, his game might not translate as much in the NFL. I think he's a dog and he's a hard worker. But yeah. And back to what you were saying with the D line. Like I feel like our problem is we can generate the pass for us. We're so terrible at run stopping. And this is how we get run through in the playoffs. Like the Packers ran through us with Aaron Jones. He just demolished us. We couldn't do anything, and he was just eating us alive. And so it's just like, and I feel like we're off drafting D linemen. Like Monty Smith, what has he done?
Oh my god,
that was a terrible pick. What has he done for the Cowboys?
Remember when we picked Taco Charlton over TJ Watt?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like, our picks are so hit or miss, and it's just like, I don't know. This is why, like, the Lions, for example, like, other teams draft so well, the Texans. And while we're drafting, like, just guys that just do not perform. They're just not talented.
Especially with linemen. Like, I feel like our skilled position players, like, I think they've all been pretty, like, decent. They've been playable at least.
Yeah.
With our defensive linemen, it's either, like, you see the field or you're cut the next year. Like, Taco Charlton was literally cut the second year on the roster. So it's like, I don't know. I think they should go to free agency for defensive line rather than looking in the draft just so they can proven guys and not have to deal with this whole fiasco. And I feel like a name I'm looking at is really Javon Kinlaw. Whenever he came out of South Carolina, I wanted to draft him, but we didn't draft him. But we have a second chance to get him now.
Yeah,
I feel like we should look at a safety in the draft as well, for sure, if we're going to get rid of some of these guys for cap.
I don't know. I feel like we struggle just picking up, like you were saying, linemen. Our skill players are fine, but I think like we can also improve in drafting them. And I feel like there's a curse with, more specifically the running backs with the Cowboys. Once they get paid, I feel like that they start to underperform, right? Yeah, like... So when Zeke was the RB1 and we had Pollard, this was like I think the 2022 season, 2022.
Yeah.
Pollard, when he went off, he went ballistic, right? Then Pollard gets the job. And then he's just
mediocre,
decent, above average, a little bit, right? And Zeke was amazing. He was really good his first couple of years, but then, I mean, maybe he aged, he got slower, but he just like got paid and just stopped performing.
And it really hurts me to say this about Zeke because he's probably one of my favorite Cowboys of all time. He lived right down the street from me. I've met him like multiple times. It just gets to a point where it's like you don't got it anymore. And I don't think he has it anymore. He's lost all explosiveness. He's lost like he's maybe stronger, but he doesn't show he's stronger. He gets bullied even more than he used to.
And I feel like maybe at this point it's time for Zeke to retire or think about retiring next season or this upcoming season. I would retire.
And I think what's it called? Overshown. I love that guy. We have two amazing edge rushers in Overshown and Parsons. It's just the interior of the line, dude. Like I don't know what to do. We're bringing in a new coaching staff. Maybe they can fix it. Even though I hate this hire of Schottenheimer. It's the most Jerry Jones thing to do. But I think there's something to be optimistic about before the draft, at least. If they draft like horribly, I think I'm back to just not rooting for this team, like being so fed up with them. But I feel like there is some optimism right now for us fans that there is something that we can do good. And if there's one thing we do good, it's draft skill players. But I don't know what to do with the defensive line. Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like this year we also dealt with a lot of injuries, right? Like Trayvon has seen he was out for the season, right? Or that was Deron Bland.
That was Bland.
But but Trayvon has been kind of like, I don't know. He kind of had a quiet season in my opinion.
I don't think he didn't really either.
He didn't really.
And he got paid too. After he got paid, he didn't do anything.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know. I just feel like there's a lack of will in the Cowboys within like the locker room. And I feel like maybe that's because like this Cowboys players were kind of expecting this, right? for the past 3-4 years, the Cowboys have always like they're so amazing at being a false like good team, if that makes sense. Like they seem like okay, they look good this year. Oh, they might make it deep in the playoffs. They might beat the 49ers, but they just that's where kind of Jerry Jones is a mastermind. It's just like showing like his team, like just giving fans false hope of a team that's not talented and can't get the job done, right? Because
I agree. It's like I don't know. I feel like we're such pretenders. I don't think we've been a contender.
We're a false talented team, and I mean, mind you, we do well in the regular season, but how does that matter, right? The Chiefs last year. Last year and then even years before, they haven't been like this year. They were really good, but they haven't been like truly amazing in the regular season, right? Like they've been okay. Mahomes has been okay, but what do they do in the playoffs? They actually play when that's the most important thing as a football team is perform when it matters the most, and that's what they do. And so we just can't get it done. Like last season was my actual year of thinking we are something special because Dak, which he hasn't, I don't think, done before since a while ago, he was playing like an MVP player. Yeah. Our defense was looking shut out with Dan Quinn. The CD was explosive. And I thought, okay, yeah, this team looks very solid. We can definitely make a deep playoff run. But then we just completely flop in the playoffs. McCarthy has no emotion, no sense of urgency.
I'm glad he's gone.
I'm glad too, yeah.
But I don't know if Schottenheimer is the person to take that job. It just if you interview multiple people, like multiple legit candidates, and you come to a consensus you don't want anything, and then you hire Schottenheimer, that's okay. You interviewed non-legitimate candidates and Schottenheimer, so of course you're gonna pick him. I don't know.
And I feel like a lot of it is because probably a lot of legitimate coaches declined the interview. Yeah. I don't think they want to coach for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Belichick apparently, it's said by sources that he didn't want to coach for the Cowboys because of Jerry Jones' interference. So that's also hurting us.
Mm-hmm. I think it needs to be a point where Jerry Jones lets go and just lets the coach do what they want to do with the team.
Exactly. Do what's best for the team.
Yeah.
But we'll see how the season plays out. I mean, it would be interesting in the draft to see how we do, how we end up drafting, if we fill out the spots we need to. And also I think free agency will be huge for us, like you were saying. Like Michael Parsons has said he's pleading for the Cowboys to make a move and do something in free agency.
I think it could get to a point where he wants out.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Yeah. All right, man. I think that's it for today.
All right.
See you.
See you.
Thanks for watching Bucket Talk, y'all. And that's a wrap for today's NFL episode. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.